Good evening. My name is Derek Sisney, and I am the founder of Sisney Media. And today I actually want to discuss some things to you that we find that business owners don't do. Not just business owners, but marketers as a whole. A lot of the time they ignore this piece of marketing, and it is very, very important to do to ensure that you're not wasting money. So what we're going to discuss today is what's called a customer's journey before they buy. So there's normally three phases that we know of, right? So the first phase is the awareness phase. And the awareness phase is essentially like your brand, them getting to know you. So if we're thinking of a sales funnel that comes down like this, the awareness is they are aware of you and they know that you exist. A lot of businesses already have a great brand and they know that they're aware of them, right? So what we want to do with the awareness phase is make sure that these that do not know of you know of you. Now, this is done several different factors or several different ways. Usually it's done by search engine optimization, by pay-per-click, or PPC, or search engine marketing as something else. But it's also conducted and completed by just information such as blogs and posts and different things that they can find you online. So the awareness phase is one of the most important aspects, because if a customer does not know that you exist, then they're never going to find you unless it's by sheer accident, right? So if you're posting to another site or you're posting your information online, if they don't know that you exist, they're never going to find you unless you do those things. When it comes to the awareness stage, there are a few questions that we do want to ask to make sure that we are getting the correct information. Otherwise, we don't know what we're doing, right? As a marketer, we know that this whole thing involves questions, right? So the first thing that we do want to ask for any awareness phase is, how are customers finding us, or how's the clients finding us? Because if we know that, then we sometimes can double up on the monetary expense to make sure that we are continuing to get the customers in those areas. A lot of the times that we find this out because we will talk to the client or the customer after they purchase the product. Hey, how did you find us? And what was it that made your decision to team up with us? So those are things that we do want to make sure that we find out, is how are they finding us? Because if we know that and we know that we're successful in this, we want to make sure that we re-put that information in to make sure that it's good, right? The second thing that we would want to ask is something along the lines of, what are their goals and challenges? Because if we know what their goals and challenges are, we can articulate a certain set of funnels to make sure that we're finding what those goals and challenges are. Or we can create content that actually falls in line with what they're looking for. If we know what our clients and our customers are looking for, we can create content specifically designed for them, which allows them to find you. See how that works? It's kind of one of those things where we create the content, they find the content, they begin to trust us or trust you as a business owner or marketing department or whatever you're doing, and then they begin to implement that information that you gave, and then, right, they build that trust. They begin to see you as an expert in the field. So those are going to be some of the key questions that we want to ask for the awareness phase. A second question that we do want to ask before we move on to the other second and third stages is, how are the buyers going to decide what is the optimized reason for them to get to know you, right? If we can answer that question as marketers and as business owners and as consultants, then we can move the process forward, right? Because these are questions that we all should be asking. It's not just something that's just willy-nilly that we're just going by and doing it, but we need to make sure that the information that we're getting out and we're putting out to them is going to be something that they're looking for. So let's move on to the second phase, right? So we're talking about the awareness phase. The second phase is what's known as the consideration stage. Now, this is exactly as it sounds. The consideration stage is normally a stage or a phase where a customer or client or anyone is actually looking at the information, right? They want to know that you are the guy for them. right? Or you are the girl for them, or you are the client, or you are the business for them, right? So the customer is going to go out and they're going to consider their options. Normally what they're going to do is create something along the lines of what's called pros and cons, and they're going to write these down, 2 sheets, piece of paper on both sides, pros on one side, cons on the other, and they're going to actually make the decision based off of that, right? They're going to go through your website, they're going to go through your testimonials, which is the reason testimonials are so important. They're going to go through all these bases of what it is that they can get from you and why they should choose you. So that's why everything in your site should be optimized. All your information should be optimized. Your questions that you're answering on your website or on your clicks or on your social media page should be answering the questions that your clients or hopeful customers are looking for. Because if you can answer those questions, then you are in the game, right? So we took them from the awareness phase, and now we're taking them into the consideration stage of our funnel, right? This is the journey of a customer before they buy. So there are questions that we can ask inside of the consideration stage as well, right? So the first question, that something along the lines that we would want to ask, is actually, what are the buyers investigating? Who are they investigating? Who are our competitors that they're looking at? Because if they're looking for something in a certain niche, they're going to find all the major players that's in that area. So let's just assume, for instance, that there's 5 major players, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're the fifth player, right? They're going to gather all this information. Well, who are they investigating, and are they investigating them all the same way? Any business owner that's probably worth their salt will investigate them the same way. So we want to make sure that we are doing what we call a deep dive analysis of our competitors to make sure that we're at a minimum on par with our competitors. But we want to make sure that we surpass that, not just in website, but in content information as well. Because if they're going to look and our competitors are only answering 2 or 3 of their 5 questions that they're asking, we want to answer 7 or 8 of those questions that they don't even know that they're asking yet. Right? We want to push them to the limit so that they can make a decision based off of what we are currently give them. So we want to go above and beyond so we can implement that consideration stage. Another question that we can ask is, what are they deciding what's right and what's wrong for them? Now, we're not going to know this right away, but let's just assume that we have a client or a customer that's actually looking at these options, right? So they're going through this whole bit of information. They did the pros and cons. They are going through this whole entire process, right? These are questions that we want to ask on the back end. We want to make sure that the content that we give them is relevant to the moment or to the thing that they're looking for. Because if it's not relevant, then it's just a waste of time, right? And we all know that. We don't want to waste time. We don't want to do that to our clients or our customers or even the person that's just gathering information. We want to make sure that we give them something relevant at the moment that they're looking for. And that's the beauty of marketing. So after we answer a few of those questions, let's move on to stage 3. Now, the third stage and the final stage normally is what's called the decision stage. It's exactly as it sounds. This is the stage that your client or your customer will make the decision. Are they going to choose you, or are they going to choose your competitor? If they choose your competitor, why? If they choose you, why did they choose you? We always want to make note of this. We want to know why they choose you over your competitor. Because if we start to see a trend, if we see a trend that people are finding you more on Facebook than they're finding you on, say, Instagram, then maybe we need to put more money and more ads in Facebook than we do Instagram, right? I hope this is making sense for you, because this is important, and a lot of marketers miss this. They just market as a whole to whatever it is that's around them. They'll say, hey, we're going to target for likes, or we're going to target for donations, or we're going to target for sales, whatever the case is. But the customer's journey needs to be targeted particularly to where they're at in the level. And again, normally there's 3 levels, right? So the decision phase is something that we need to be able to answer for them as marketers. They chose you. Why did they choose you? There are some questions that we can prepare for that as well. One of the questions that we need to know is, what criteria are they using to analyze the information, right? We want to make sure they're doing the same thing. We want to know, what is it that stood out about us and why you chose us. Another thing that we can know is, who's the decision maker, right? Is it the marketing department? Is it the president? Is it the CEO? Is it Jim, the sales manager? Who's making the decision for them, right? So if we can understand these pieces of information, we can tailor content, tailor information to those people. What I guarantee that you will begin to see is you'll begin to see a trend of information where people are gathering and coming through this particular spout. When they get there, they're going to be making the decisions. You might see 80% are choosing you and 20% are choosing your competitors. But again, our goal is to be the very best. Our goal is to be above everyone else, right? It's to be better than everyone else, because if we're not better than everyone else, then we're melding in with everybody else. That's not what we want to do. So I hope that you learned something today in the 3 phases of a customer's journey. And let's go over them again. It's awareness, the consideration stage, and it's the decision stage, right? The awareness, consideration, decision. Awareness, consideration, decision. And then we want to make sure that we have these questions that we can actually answer to make sure that our content and everything is tailor-made for the customers or our target market that we're looking for. I have a question for you that you should comment below. Which of these stages do you struggle with the most? And if you struggle with it, what do you do with that? How do you overcome those objections or those issues that you're having in that particular area? And let's help each other out. And if anybody knows of any other ways, and I'll be happy to respond and help you out any way I can. Thank you again so much for listening to this. Again, my name is Derek, and I'm with Sisney Media. Thank you.